This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
What's up? It's your boy, the Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
Unfortunately, what you're about to hear is real. The members of this radio program are simply not that bright, or what some people would call educated. They are merely stupid. They're not trying to offend anyone on purpose. And all have played doctors on TV. You have been warned and are cordially invited to join the party. This is the Men's Room.
Get it, man, and get with the countdown. Get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville. The trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. You know what they say, shake your radio more than 3 times, and you're playing with it. You're listening to the Men's Room.
And away we go. Welcome to season 17, episode number 3648. Along with Steve the Thrill Hill, the Ted Smith, and Mike Hawk. And you are the Men's Room. But today, the return of Who Sucks Less. We will play Profile This. Plus headlines, Men's Room Shout of the Day, fun with listener emails, and everyone's favorite, TV Time with Ted. Click, clack. All right, here we go. Netflix's most popular feature would actually help you from hearing this dumb rhyme. Meanwhile, the National Weather Service cancels tornado drill because the weather was too bad at the time. North Carolina couple exchange vows before bride breaks hubby's nose in a hotel. Man tries to steal a vest from the Navy SEAL Museum, and a man they did send to hell. And a Florida man blames addiction to video games after stealing a brand new Xbox. That is all coming on today's very special episode of The Men's Room.
And now, here's the question.
Hola, bitches. Good day to you and yours. All right, we all know the phrase planes, trains, and automobiles, right? Well, let's start with planes. Miley Cyrus was flying to South America for a music festival when her plane had to make an emergency landing. The problem, you see, was the plane was damaged when it was struck by lightning. Scary stuff, but Miley and company, they're all safe on the ground. Now we move from planes to trains, specifically a Japanese bullet train carrying 75 passengers, moving at almost 200 miles per hour. Well, last week, it derailed on its way to Fukushima when a magnitude 7.4 earthquake shook it off the tracks. And amazingly, none of the 75 passengers or three crew members were injured. But all were quite sure, it needed a change of underwear. And now automobiles. Tornadoes have been tearing large swaths of the South lately, including Elgin, Texas. That's where crazy video shows a red Chevy Silverado get picked up by a tornado, get tossed around, get flipped over, miraculously land on its wheels, and then speed away from the tornado that had just beaten its ass. Meanwhile, in England or Australia, I'm not sure, the driver of a Land Rover who's towing a 17-foot trailer behind it went airborne after rolling over a cow that had slipped and fallen in the middle of the road. It is insane to see this video. This cow comes out of nowhere. This guy goes airborne. Good times. Now, if you've been in a vehicle, you've been in a vehicle that has suffered something. And that's the essence of today's question. Planes, trains, and automobiles, what is the one story you will always tell?
Be part of the big show. Call 206-421-ROCK. Like the Men's Room on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Men's Room Live. And send your emails to the Men's Room at KISW.com.
99.9 KISW.
All the Charles, away we go. Welcome to season 17, episode number 3648. What a large and in charge program we have for you today. Guaranteed future repeat. The exciting return of Who Sucks Less. Mm-hmm. Steve, I don't know how you do it. The news is always so positive.
Very positive.
But you find a way to bring 3 messed up stories. People do some crazy stuff. And you bring 3 stories. We got to figure out, out of these 3, which one sucks the least. How brutal will it be today on Who Sucks Less?
I don't think it's brutal. I think the brutality will be trying to find the person who sucks the least and have us agree on it. Because some people suck, but their decision-making ended up being beneficial, if you know what I mean. So, like, they suck, but the end result, in spite of their suckiness, is not necessarily bad.
Okay. Who Sucks Less coming up. And, of course, as we do every Monday through Friday here in the Men's Room, you get more Men's Room with the Men's Room Happy Hour exclusively on the Odyssey app. If you don't have the Odyssey app, download that bad boy right now. It's absolutely free. Hundreds of channels. New channels added to that thing every single day. And not only can you check our daily Men's Room podcast, but if you join us for the Men's Room Happy Hour in that channel, which only goes live at 6 o'clock Monday through Friday, we invite you to tune in for whatever in the hell we're going to do on any given day. The key here is it's adults only. The same rules apply, do not apply, as they do here on the airwaves of KISW. So the topics are a little bit not as appropriate as for these airwaves. The language is not appropriate for these airwaves, but we can do that on the Men's Room Happy Hour. So if you get a chance, check it out. We have celebrity guest stars every once in a while. We had one last night.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. So
not being child-friendly and all.
It was a lot of fun. It was.
We tamed it down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there was that involved. But
Mike didn't say the C word
for once.
Yeah. But check it out if you haven't. We'll do it again coming up here at 6 o'clock tonight. And today in our question, planes, trains, automobiles, what's the one story you always tell? And as you know, there's been some pretty severe weather that's been blowing across the United States of America. Matter of fact, there was a tornado that went right down the middle of New Orleans yesterday afternoon. Same tornadoes and a different system were involved in some really bad incidents in Texas. And at least one tornado was spotted touching down southwest of Texas during the bad storms on Monday night. And a storm chaser was following the weather, and he managed to capture some truly harrowing footage of a red Chevy Silverado and the pickup. The truck got tossed around and then flipped over before landing back up on its wheels. The driver actually started driving away.
Wouldn't you?
It's amazing.
Let's keep going.
The unbelievable footage comes courtesy of a storm chaser named Brian Imfinger on YouTube and Twitter. M-Finger. Yeah. E-M Finger. Thinking about using that for Dirty Big Dummy.
Look at them fingers.
Maybe tomorrow night on the Men's Room Happy Hour. Brian M-Finger.
God damn.
Oh, man. Barry M-Finger.
No.
Actual porn star or not. Barry M-Finger.
Yeah.
No? All right. The video shows the cell of the tornado spit over the roadway just ahead of Imfinger, directly into the path of an oncoming red Chevrolet pickup truck. The truck gets caught in the tornado, flips over. Luckily for the occupants, the truck spun around, eventually landing on all four wheels again, allowing the driver to speed away from the storm. If you've seen this video, you know damn well that if I'm a PR person for Chevrolet,
oh hell yeah,
I'm calling them and I'm saying, can I please buy that footage and use it in the next pickup truck commercial we do? You know, I don't care if you're playing Bob Seger like a rock, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
You see this thing, man, it's spinning around, it flips over, it tosses back up on its wheels, and it's amazing because it really is in the middle of this tornado.
Oh, yeah.
Pops back up, guy puts in drive, drives down the highway. It was...
what do you think that experience is like inside of the cab? I would assume that you're making the assumption you're going to die, right?
Yes.
Because tornadoes, at least as far as I know, are the most no-joke form of natural disaster, particularly to be directly, not just in its path, you're in the tornado. It has lifted your vehicle. You're spinning around. You're probably like, this is it. And you land on all four wheels like, you know what, dude, I'm going to keep driving.
A lot of times they say the safest place that you can be during a tornado is actually inside of your vehicle.
This is a Silverado.
This is a big-ass four-door truck, and it's heavy, and you can see what the wind does to it. I mean, it basically...
In a tornado?
Well, instead of getting out...
well, sure. But I mean, like where I grew up in College Park, I mean, there was never tornadoes.
Until later, right?
Right, and they had one. But I mean, sadly, you picked up two girls' car and slammed them into a building.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it does happen. It's just especially with lightning in the area and things like that, they say, look, the rubber on the tires, everything else.
Sure.
You could go run into a ditch, but that's going to pick you up out of the ditch.
But they would not suggest you drive into the tornado. I mean, that guy...
No.
He was not driving into it.
I think I'd rather be in a, somewhere in a building, under...
Yes.
Like, aren't you supposed to be in between, load-bearing walls or something?
Or underground, whatever. By the way, somebody here says, I have that same type of truck as in that video. I love it.
So that guy has to think he's going to die.
Yes.
And then I would think the storm's still raging. So maybe when it lands and it's in drive, you just kind of freak out and have
keep
to
going.
Or drive away from it. But then afterwards, I mean, I can't imagine that odd adrenaline dump. What do you?
I told Miles.
Honestly, I'd probably be like, I'm getting a beer.
I told Miles, I get out, I light a cigarette and change my underwear.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, and then let it soak in for about 20 minutes, then decide what I'm going to do next. Because, like, you were scheduled to die that day, man. And the tornado blew it, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah. That was
at least not in real life. It was like watching the movie Twister.
I'm just impressed that after spinning around on its side upside down, when it got flipped over, that it was still drivable.
Mm-hmm.
The truck was perfectly fine. I'm sure it's got body damage on one side from being spun around.
Would not care.
And all that, but who cares?
You're right. That's the last truck he's going to buy for the rest of his life. I mean, that's the only kind of truck he'll buy for the rest of his life.
I think that should be your Safe Light story.
Yeah.
Here's my Safe Light story. My truck was picked up by a goddamn tornado, slammed on the ground, flipped over. We managed to get out, and then we noticed a crack in our windshield.
I think as far as my experience on driving, I've been in a few wrecks. I've been in one where my buddy went through the windshield. I've been in one where T-boned and got taken away in an ambulance and everything else. But I think the one story I always remember was I was living in Hagerstown, Maryland. I'd lived there for about a month or two. I was working a new job, and Hagerstown was maybe 2.5 hours from where I'd moved from.
Yeah.
One thing I knew for a fact was I didn't know anybody in Hagerstown yet. I needed to buy weed. Plus, Hagerstown had no social life whatsoever, so every once in a while, on the weekends, I would drive home and spend time with my friends that I had there, pick up some weed, drive back on Sunday evening. So one of these evenings, I'm driving, and it's a Friday night. I get off the air at 10 o'clock. I decided I'm just going to haul ass, drive to Morgantown on Friday night, and try to get in about midnight and meet up with my friends who are more than likely still at the bar and know exactly where to go.
Sure.
Blah, 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 blah. Get on the road. The highway is basically empty at this time. And that is a very rural part of Maryland, of West Virginia. It's in the middle of nowhere.
There.
If you go north into Pennsylvania, there's absolutely nothing there. And this is not the highest volume traveled highway. There's another highway that's a little bit north of it called I-70, where most of the major traffic goes. Yep. I was on a I-68, which just didn't have that kind of traffic. And I'm driving, and it looked to me like a massive slaughter had happened on the highway. Like it looked like it was like something exploded in blood. It was
right.
You could see it. So then I see an 18-wheeler that has pulled over ahead, and the trail is slowly drifting of blood over to the right-hand side of the road.
With the tractor trailer.
And following the tractor trailer over to where he's pulled over with his hazard lights off. When I drive up, I slow down, and at that point in time, the driver of the 18-wheeler has opened his door. He's getting ready to exit his vehicle. So I put on the brakes because I look in my rearview mirror, and I see something, but I can't figure out because he's looking at the front. So I stop the car to see if the guy needs help, whatever's going on. I reverse probably for what seemed like 200 or 300 yards,
all right,
on the side of the road, just to drive back there. I get out of my car, and there is a black bear that is completely embedded in the grill of his 18-wheeler. Now, this thing, I did not realize how big their heads were because I've never seen a black bear in the wild. I know you have, Ted, but I had no idea the size of these things, especially in woods that I camped in regularly, that I hiked in regularly.
And they're like the tiny bears, right?
If I knew that,
as far as bears in North America go,
like brown bears are bigger, grizzlies are massive.
Don't get me wrong, we always put up a bear bag when we went camping or hiking. That was just
that's sex
standard procedure because something's going to get in there one way or another. So you always put your food up in a bear bag. But I'd never seen one. And I mean, this tongue was hanging out. First of all, bears smell awful. I had no idea.
I think that's the first thing.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Wow, that smells really bad.
You reek, dude. It was unbelievable how smelly he was, or it could have been her. And then that bear's tongue was hanging out. It was so big. The breath, because there was still kind of a hot, it was a colder night.
Yeah.
And like the steam was coming out of his mouth as the heat escapes his body. The smell of his breath was nothing like anything you've ever woken up to in your life. You know what I mean? You might think your partner has bad breath, but it was so crazy because the bear disabled the truck. Basically, he told me his engine stopped. There was nothing he could do. So, I'm like, hey man, is there anything I can do to help you? And he's like, no, I'm already on the radio. Already got that done. I just got to wait for somebody.
You really even asked that question? I mean, I get what you're saying. I think.
Well, I didn't know. Could I drive him to the next exit?
As an honest approach, I'd look at that and be like, look, I can hang out with you, but I can't help you. There's nothing I can offer.
I can give you a ride.
Okay.
But I mean, are you going to abandon the truck? You know what I mean? I didn't know what he wanted to do. I wasn't too far away from an exit that had a gas station coming up and stuff like that, so I didn't know, do you need to make a phone call? Because this is in the days where cell phones were not on your possession unless you were, you had like
rich,
hard cell phone in your car with a curly antenna on the top. But I swear that is the one most memorable thing I know from my driving experience, as far as like, wow, that is some messed up stuff.
If we did a scratch and sniff and one of them was dead black bear, all right, but you're blindfolded, do you think you'd be like, that is the smell?
Without question.
Really?
It's unmistakable. It's like liver.
Was he like cut it? Like, was his insides out?
He went through the grill, and the grill was one of those grills that looked like the traditional 18-wheeler, kind of like what Dodge did when they tried to do the Ram trucks with a big, chrome grill in the front.
Yeah.
He was in it. He had busted through.
How deep was he in it?
He was in there 2 to 3 feet.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
what I mean. I don't know how that thing got so high up, because that grill was high. That grill was like, it's 6.5 feet, 7 feet.
Yeah.
And he was pretty well halfway through it, right in the middle of it. Yeah, just like, and
it's like a cartoon.
His paws were so big. You can't believe how big their hands are. So of course, by the time I get to mortgage, I'm like, you're not going to believe this.
Right.
Where did it happen? Blah 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 blah. And apparently, it was in the news.
Really?
I didn't. Who knows?
Yeah.
They said
you saw it.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, man, that is a lot of blood. That was crazy. So planes, trains, automobiles. What's the one story you always tell? 206-421-ROCK.
Plus, it's the inside of an animal.
Yeah, man, look, even animals will smell bad, not to go back to the Tauntaun world, but like, if you smell bad on the outside, the inside is not going to be an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, like humans, right?
Sure, right, exactly.
I don't know. Thankfully, I've never seen somebody with their guts out, but I'd imagine it's a bad smell.
Well, it can't be good.
If you looked underneath the truck itself, there were at least 7 streams of blood in individual places that were pouring out down onto the roadway. It was
like you could hear it just trickling in.
Oh yeah, it was like like rain off of your your deck. You could just hear it. It was insane. Just
you have to like yell over the sound of the blood. Do you need anything?
That was one thing I do remember. Just trying to walk around all the blood to see how close I could get. If I could take a step in and get closer, I would. But my foot was surrounded by blood everywhere.
Right.
Else. So it was just like, man, this is intense. And then it's still. I told my buddy, I'm never going hiking there again. I'm never going camping in that area, just west of Deep Creek. I would never take a day hike. I could not believe that thing lived there.
Someone just nicknamed your bear.
In the area he's in, like, I've never seen a bear there. My family would go up to Deep Creek Lake, but seriously, I mean, every trash can's in a bear container. And I've seen them emptied, but I've never seen one there.
Somebody nicknamed this bear for this story, and it's appropriate. Mm-hmm. Bear Grylls. Ooh. By the way, as a reference to the, you're very funny.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. That's good.
The driver of the red pickup on the tornado. Yeah. How old do you think the driver was? A bunch of people are chiming in.
I don't know.
16 to 17 years old.
Oh,
that is a young teen driver. Man, they're going to be the best driver on earth. Hey, there ain't nothing that happens on the road that freaks me out, man.
Hey, look, one thing that's inherently true about when your kid turns 16, if you are going to get them an automobile, and a lot of kids don't get a car when they're 16 years old, but if you do get them an automobile, it always seems like your parents' primary motivation, it doesn't matter how old the car is, cost is always a factor, that's always the number one thing, but 2 is the safety level of what they believe the car to be.
That's why you get the old Buick Oldsmobile. Like, I don't want this thing. It's a tank.
My daughter got like a 20-some-year-old Volvo because the safety records, it's a tank of a car. Mm-hmm. But that was the primary concern was, is this car a safe car? Because she wanted to get like a little Honda Civic or something where I thought, well, maybe that's not the safest car. First of all, it's going to get stolen. Second of all, it's going to get stolen. And third, it's going to get stolen. Plus, you might drive it fast. But the parents have to feel good about the fact that is what they bought their kid.
Yeah.
Because if any other car, who knows?
Well, I'm just going to go out there and recommend you get a Chevy Silverado. They take a beating. I mean, I've watched that video probably 20 times, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's so much more impressive than climbing up like rocks in the desert or, off-roading or all of those things that no one really ever does when they buy those.
Right.
Maybe.
You know what? That's a good point. Right. They show these commercials, and I'm like,
driving to the top of a mountain on a rock ridge. Who does that?
Like, what? Yeah, I'm sure it can do that. I'll never know if I'm driving it. Show the tornado.
That's real.
Yeah, like, this actually happened. That's what this truck can do.
Like, look at that thing.
You want to drive over a mountain backwards? Knock yourself out. You want to drive to the Australian outback? Good for you. This dude was in a goddamn tornado.
It's a testament to the truck. But I don't know if your slogan is just like, survive a tornado. Like, well,
it would be part of my slogan.
Mike, do we have Bob Seger like a rock over there?
oh, yeah, hang on.
Okay, all right. 'Cause I think that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bob Seger, did he write that song for Chevrolet?
No.
Or did Chevrolet use his song?
They used the song.
Used it, and now no one can hear it and not think of Chevrolet. He was just kind of like, yeah, they paid me whatever they paid me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going to do a campaign. He's like, cool. And they did that campaign for, like, maybe 5 to 7 years. And I don't care who you are, even if you hear that song, you perceive it as a commercial. I mean, it's brilliant marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is.
Bear Grylls. God damn it.
Bear Grylls. It would be funny if the bear was actually wearing grills.
All right.
I'll be damned.
Okay.
Planes, trains, automobiles, what's the one story you always tell? 206-421-ROCK.
99.9 KISW. The shenanigans continue. This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill.
Planes, trains, automobiles, what's the one story that you will always tell? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Sean. Welcome to the Men's Room.
Hola!
Hola!
So when I was 16, I turned around and just got my driver's license. This was back in Florida. Going up State Road 47 across the Santa Fe River. And a semi came 3 feet into my lane and hit my mom's truck, almost threw us into the river. And I will never forget it. And then come to find out, 8-9 years later, I decided to get a CDL. Go figure.
To return the favor?
Was your mom in the truck with you?
Yes,
Now, were you driving or was she driving?
I was driving.
Okay, and so where did the 18-wheeler hit the front of your car?
Hit just under his 89 GMC Sierra, right at the headlight on the driver's side.
So do you remember what the car did, or did it just happen so fast that you're not, did it spin around? Did it almost go off the edge? What happened?
It actually threw it up on 2 wheels, and you could see the tire marks down the side of the semi.
Oh, so you rode along the side of the semi while you're up on 2?
Yeah.
Do you have recollection of that, or is it one of those, the adrenaline dump prevented you from remembering that?
Oh, no, I remembered it.
Oh, and what's going through your head when you have 2 wheels up on the side of a truck?
We're going to die.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Who was the first person to approach you guys in your vehicle? Was it the truck driver or somebody who witnessed it?
No, it was actually another witness that turned around. He kept going.
The truck did.
He is drunk.
Oh, no.
And so, yeah, he kept going for about half a mile before he even coherently realized what had happened.
Was he pulled over, or did he voluntarily pull to the side of the road?
He voluntarily pulled over, finally.
All right, and so the police come. Do they arrest him for DUI?
Nope, he knew the sheriffs.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely not. My mom was livid. She almost shot the guy. She is so PO'd.
So he's visibly drunk driving. He obviously hit your car. There are tire marks on the side of his truck, but because he knows the sheriffs, they're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, pretty much. And the other witnesses said that he blew past them doing 75, 80.
Jesus, man.
Oof. Florida, man, it's a wild, wild west.
God almighty.
Oh, yeah.
I told one of the last times my wife were down in Florida, my in-laws inherited a condo down there, right? So we're down there. I'm going to get smokes before we go back to the condo. We'd gone out to dinner or something like that. But anyway, we stop at the gas station. It's nighttime, so you can't physically walk into the little convenience store, but they have a walk-up side window. No big deal. And there's like maybe 4 or 5 people in line. And there's a dude who looked like the ghetto version of Magnum P.I., right? He had a big bushy mustache, Hawaiian shirt on. Oh, typical Florida guy. Mm-hmm. And he's like slouched over even when he's at the window, and he gets a 6-pack. Cashier does not bat an eye. He pays for it, hands him the 6-pack, and he is stumbling and staggering over to his car. And it was a little itty-bitty red Pontiac Fiero, which I want to say they discontinued in, like 87 maybe?
Maybe.
Either way, this is like 2008, 2009 when we're there. So anyway, he gets into his Fiero, and I cannot believe how messed up this guy is, right? And he opens the door, and he gets in on the driver's side. I'm desperately hoping he's a passenger. Gets in on the driver's side, and no one in line even cares. I kind of look at the woman in front of me, and she's looking at me like, what? And I'm kind of like eyeballing toward him. She shrugs it off. He turns on the car. One of the two headlights pops up. All right. I'm like, oh, boy. So he puts the car in reverse, and I'm like, okay, he's not doing so bad. And he stays in reverse. And then he pulls out into the intersection. And where this gas station is, this is a major intersection. It's late enough that there's not tons of traffic, but there's still traffic. He pulls out in reverse, makes a left in reverse, and goes, I think it's called Military Highway or something like that. It drives off. So so his car does reverse. He's going with traffic, but he's going backwards. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I look at my wife, she's looking at the windshield like, what the F? I'm like, man, Florida. Nobody cares. Florida. And I'm like, nobody cared. No, I mean, even the other people driving, like no one honked at him or tried to indicate like, hey man, you should pull. He disappeared down the road. I'm like, oh my God.
What if he drove all the way home in reverse?
I don't know. I'm like, I know this is Florida, but I mean, there's got to be a limit, man.
Yeah.
Planes, trains, automobiles, what's the one story you always tell? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Matt. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
All right. So, my girlfriend at the time, we were driving down I-5, going home after picking her up from work, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a giant tire in the middle of the road from a bus on the side of the road. The dude didn't put any flares around it or anything like that, and we went over it and kind of went airborne a little bit. Ripped off the back bumper. It was terrible.
Did you said you blew a tire? You as well?
No. The bus apparently lost its tire in the middle of the freeway. And it was dark. It's like almost 12 o'clock at night. Pitch black. No light. He didn't put any flares around it. He didn't put any reflectors around it to guide people away from it. It was just sitting there in the middle of the road.
I mean, was the bus pulled over nearby?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So now I get what you're saying. Like, that kind of be my first order of business is, hey, man, let people know there's tires there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you lost the back bumper. What other damage did the car get?
Oh, the front grille was all messed up. We got a little hurt. It was King County Metro, so we got a little cash from them, but after paying the lawyer and stuff, it wasn't really much after that.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn.
Hey, I know somebody, the conversation happened this past weekend, but I see her every weekend, and she.
I'm guessing she's a bartender.
Yes, well, no, so sort of.
I see her.
So she's
every
like,
weekend.
what happened? She's like, you want to hear what happened to me? I was like, yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
I was coming home from a comedy show in Seattle, and she lives down in Tacoma, and she and her girlfriend were driving down I-5, and a white vehicle pulled up beside them and opened fire through the driver's side window. The window shatters, okay? Glass is everywhere. And then that car speeds off and goes down the road. So basically the bullet entered the driver's side window, did not exit the passenger side window. So presumably they still believe there's a bullet somewhere lodged in the car.
Right.
Talked to the cops. The cops went, whatever.
Yeah.
No big deal. But they believe that car was responsible for another shooting that happened earlier in the morning on I-5 as well. Just a random, I'm going to pull up to somebody
and just shoot them.
And just shoot at the car. And, she was just, you could tell she was still a little bit in from the entire incident.
Yeah.
Yes. She said she and her friend were amazingly calm. Like, okay, let's pull over, let's assess what happened, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I would not have been calm. I would have been freaking the hell out.
Well, it probably takes you a second to really register and understand that someone has physically just fired a weapon at you that you don't know. And the one thing you told me, and this is, think about this going through your head, right? So as far as you know, this is a random shooting. Might be as far as you know. But then when the cops ask you questions, they do it, and it's very necessary. Can you think of anyone that would want to kill you? Now, typically I don't have these thoughts, but like, damn, he's right. What if this wasn't random? Then you got to go through your Rolodex of people.
Kill?
Right, that's what
I mean.
But again,
so it just happens to you. The logic says someone wants you dead, or it could be a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah, so I can't think of anybody that wants to kill me.
See, I can't either. But after that happens, and the cops ask, your mind's a little different because you go, "I was just shot at in my vehicle. It could be random, but it also might not be." Right?
You don't know.
So you really got to start thinking like, "Goddamn, Daryl,
You're
that son in third grade." He said he was going to kill. I mean, like, I honest to God, I started being paranoid of everyone. Like, yeah, you know what, man? I don't know, but someone did just try to kill me.
Daryl, sure.
Ted, you run your own company. Employees come and go. You know, you've let some go. You've fired some. You've hired some new employees. Everything else.
All right.
Story in the news this week. A guy terminated one of his employees.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They drove up to the house and decided to shoot at the house. Right. I mean, so you don't think that someone wants to kill you because you let someone go at work, but that's the guy that drives up a week later and starts shooting at your house.
Well, I can, as bad as it sounds, I can fathom that.
Right.
But, like, I'm not high enough on a ladder at any company. For,
right,
like,
I understand.
That's what I'm saying. You asked me personally, like, no, nobody wants to kill me. I know some people might want to punch me.
Oh, I'd rattle that off. Like, if I got sucker punched,
if somebody killed me, that'd have to be a weird, like, I mean, like, it would suck, but, like, tell you what, that guy was a hell of a fan.
Yeah.
He took it way too serious.
I know for a fact, though, if you've ever seen a car that's been broken into and how the glass shatters inside of a car, it's substantial. It's like there's just these BBs of glass that are everywhere.
Which is good now.
Well, that is
back in the day. That's not how it was. You always ended with the imprint of someone's face on the windshield. Like, we didn't go through the windshield, but he hit it at 40 miles an hour. At least that was to go through.
I was going down. Fifth today downtown.
All right.
Sorry.
So I'm basically underneath the monorail tracks, and I'm doing the speed limit like I always do.
Right.
Yep. I assume so.
Yeah, and there was a gentleman who walked out on the green light behind one of the pillars that hold the monorail up.
All right.
So I didn't see the guy, and then all of a sudden he steps out. I slam on the brakes like I've never slammed on the brakes that hard before in a car and started to skid and thought to myself, and the car, it amazingly stayed straight. Mm-hmm. You know, the ABS, I guess, works. That's the first time I really ever stomped on it with that kind of a feature. And I'm a foot from this guy, and he's standing in the road. And I just kind of throw my hands up, just like, dude, what are you doing? So, of course, he throws some crap in my car and walks off.
He threw something at your car?
Oh, yeah. He threw something in my car and kept on walking. I was just like, you D-bag. You know what I mean? Like, Seattle's such an S show right now, but still, it's just like, come on, man. Like, I tried to avoid killing you. I could have killed you if I just would have been if I'd have been distracted or wasn't paying.
Right.
I'd have plowed right over your ass, man. You'd have flown in my car, because again, I was going the speed limit. So I'd have done some damage. But I'm like, dude.
That is, I mean,
so instead of saying like, "Oh, sorry, man," no, he just took something in his hand, went, boom, on my car, and I was like, "Oh God!"
I find that hilarious.
I do too. It's one of my fantasies. We've talked about it on the podcast for years. Brand new episode out. I always show. Now, obviously, the driver has to be in the wrong, but just like I just got, I got one of them big burritos from like Chipotle or something.
Right.
Just like, F you. Boom. I mean, I fantasize about that now.
Well, the problem is I don't even know what he threw because he threw it as he walked by and I was driving away. Then he turned and he fired it at like the side of my car. But so at that point in time, I'm like, I'm not even going to stop to get out. I don't even want to know what that thing is. I don't even want to know what he threw at me. I just know I heard a big thud on my car. So when I parked it, I just walked around the car like, all right, I don't see any dents. I don't see anything wrong with it. I guess
that was probably a cup of beer.
Yeah, who knows?
Right, and I'm saying, in my scenario, the driver is like running through an intersection or something.
Right.
And you hit him with a big burrito.
Hit him with the big burrito. You'd be surprised how often, like, because in my neighborhood, there's a lot of busy streets, but they're just crosswalks. Mm-hmm. And a lot of drivers don't fathom that, like, it's a crosswalk. It's not a light. Like, I could walk across.
Right. He's also tank top NBA guy.
All right.
Without an undershirt. So whenever you see tank top NBA guy, it's a little weird. It's like the guy who takes off his shirt before he's going to get in a fight. You realize that this guy is a little off. Even if you go to an NBA basketball game,
right?
You do not see people just wearing the actual jersey without anything on underneath it.
I mean, it's pop. You got to be it's got to be sunny. Right. And you're at a bar,
Look, or you're in Philadelphia.
If you're in Los Angeles.
Well, I was going to say, so all my buddies, we have them.
Right, absolutely.
Planes, trains, automobiles. What's the one story you always tell? And he was wearing a frickin' Spurs. And granted, the Spurs they're a respectable franchise.
Sure.
By all,
who was it? Was it Kawhi? A Kawhi jersey?
I couldn't remember who it was because by that point in time, I'm like, I just got to get the hell out of here because I'm the type of guy who will get out of my car. So I have to maintain my cool and just get to work. Just keep on driving.
Well, somebody here says, Miles, maybe he was pissed that you didn't hit him.
You know,
no. You son of a bitch.
I don't think I could have knocked any sense into that guy. Planes, trains, automobiles. What's the one story you always tell? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Tom. Welcome to the men's room.
Boom, bitches.
Boom, Tom.
All right. I did see that video of that Chevy, dude. That was crazy.
That is insane.
But I'm going to get... Yeah, that was insane. I'm going to get as quick to the story as possible. Basically, I've been an automotive repair technician for 20 years. I had a rack that was acting up at work. It was an in-ground hydraulic rack. All right, and I had told my boss 3 weeks before. All right, okay, I'm doing an oil pan on a 98 Chevy or Cadillac DeVille, and I went to lower the screw jacks to lower the motor, and the whole rack dropped 6 inches.
Did any of it hit you?
It hit me so hard, the car hit me so hard. By the time I got done, the car was 6 inches from the ground. The back end was 10 feet up in the air. My boss had to come around and grab the back end of the car. I had to come around and lower it while he balanced it to get it to the ground, and it barely got to the ground in time.
Now, how many times has that happened?
Did you tell the owner this?
It was 48 gallons low on hydraulic fluid.
The lift was?
Yeah, 48 gallons. And yeah, I should have sued him, but I didn't.
Okay. Well, but thank God you didn't get injured. Did you guys tell the owner of the car what happened to his car?
Only thing that got crushed was the hubcap that was sitting underneath one of the legs that held up the car. We got it to the ground and didn't get massive damage.
You know, the only thing you can do in that situation is drive to Eastern Washington and look for one of those places on the side of the road that just sell hubcaps.
And nothing but, right?
It was like an 89 DeVille, man. That sounds like spokes to me. You're gonna have to find one that's hanging up on a fence somewhere. You know what I mean? At somebody's lot.
You got to wonder how many times that happens in the course of a year.
On those lifts?
Right, I mean, 'cause things happen. Either the lift, like he said, the lift itself goes down, or the car is not quite balanced, or whatever it is. But something goes wrong at the mechanic shop, and it's like, look, they're not going to notice. Don't say a word. Would you say anything?
No. Not as long as the car wasn't damaged.
If they could not tell, I'm not saying anything.
I would say that a hubcap fell and was damaged and irreplaceable.
That's fair. That's fair.
So we owe you a hubcap. But that would be about it. Not, yeah.
Your car fell off the jack.
Planes, trains, automobiles. What's the one story you'll always tell? 206-421.
I think it's terrifying they work under those cars like that.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever be comfortable doing that. No. That's just me. I'm a candy ass. Hello, Gary. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
I got a load of stories, but I'm going to say one with a reference to animal. Back in 90, I was going on to a military base. It was late at night. I was headed back to the barracks. It's a long dead road. It's just woods for like 20 miles. And I seen a car coming the other way, but it was sitting still in the lane, and the hazards were on. And as I drove by, there was an old lady in it. So I pulled over and I walked up, and she froze her. But what the thing was is, when I opened my door, I went to step out of my car, and there's a deer fetus on the ground. And there's a blood and bone trail and hair all the way up to the car, and it stinks real bad. She was driving one of those, I think in the 90s, the Honda Prelude, real low profile.
Yeah.
And what happened was, the deer jumped up onto the road in front of her car and slipped, and she rolled right over the top of it. So she turned it into a giant burrito, essentially, and it was stuck underneath her exhaust pipe, and it was smoking. So I walked around the back of her car, and I could see a deer, and I grabbed it, and it was literally a tube of hair, blood, guts, with a ear and a couple of feet sticking out of it.
Man, God damn, man.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good thing that she had a low-profile car. That was one. That was one of the things they taught us in driver's ed.
Oh yeah,
when we were 16 years old, especially in West Virginia, and with the technology in the times, like, this is crazy front-wheel drive, front-wheel disc brakes, which means that if you see a deer in the road and you put your brakes on, then that will lower the nose of your car, thus making the deer a projectile into your windshield, and that's where things can really get awful. So the rule was, if you speed up. You know, if you have
Isn't that saying the rules depending on how big they are?
Well, they told us.
That's what I've heard.
Well, like deer, but like, right. When we were driving through like open range and there's like steers out there, it's like,
that's a different story.
Yeah, like that, I don't know,
that's
man.
That's a big animal.
Way different story.
Like, speed up.
I'm talking about a white-tailed deer, not a goddamn 400, 500-pound animal. Planes, trains, automobiles. What's the one story you'll always tell? 206-421-ROCK.